Hello, everybody. Hey, so this is just for the SEC argumentation and debate class, so I'm putting it on the SEC channel. Um, this is how to do the rebuttal assignment. Now, the assignment is called the analysis with flow sheet. So I should probably title it that way, but the analysis with flow sheet, because I wanted to kind of give a little bit more description about what's actually going in this assignment. But I'm just going to walk through it. You can take a look at this video whenever. Remember, you can always add comments in, and I'll respond to them. Okay, so don't be afraid to do that. I'll get a notification for it. So here we go. We are going to. You know what? You don't need to see me, so we'll just do this. Here we go. All right. So here is the assignment, right? We have the instructions right here, and you should be able to kind of go through those instructions. But I think the most important part is that down here, I give you a starting point. Okay. So here is I'm just going to increase the font on this. You can see a little bit better. Okay. This is a Google document that you can simply copy and paste into URL, or you could like right click it and oh, I don't want that one. So I didn't. So you could just you could copy it, or you could just go to it and it'll open up in a new tab, right? So I am able to modify it because it is my document, obviously, and I'm signed into that particular Google account. But for you, it might be a little difficult, right? So you have to wait for it to load up, and uh, so you'll be able to view it, but you won't be able to edit it. So the easiest thing for you to do is you just go to File, you make a copy. Sorry, everything's moving slow. It might be because I'm live streaming. So, oh man, hope everything's working okay. Okay, and then I would just put your name. You just erase copy of and put your name there. Okay, there you go. And then it'll make a copy into your own drive. So you got to sign in with a Gmail account of some sort in order to do that. All right. There you go. Now you have your own starting point for this assignment. Now, the when you're looking at this, what you want to do is you want to put your resolution where it says resolution. Okay, so highlight that, and let's say this one is the vote by mail one. And put in the full resolution. You know the actual wording of the entire thing, but I'm just going to do a short version of it there. All right, and now you're all set up to do the remainder of the assignment. I even put in these little labels here. So you have the first affirmative constructive, the first negative constructive. Should be what you just finished this last week. That's what you just turned in, okay? And then this is the first affirmative rebuttal. So these two columns, the first two columns, have actual speeches, actual recordings that you are going to use. This last column is where you are going to insert your ideas. So this isn't written yet. So for these first two columns, it's basically like a pro con list where the 1AC is the pro list and then the 1NC is the con list. But the only arguments that you are allowed to put into this table are the ones that were made in the debate. So what I want you to do is you are now going back. I want you to put on your affirmative cap. You are in affirmative mode. So you're going back to that one speech, that affirmative speech that you submitted like more than a month ago on your affirmative topic, and you are now going to do a pro con list based off of all the arguments you made for the pro, and all the arguments your opponent made for the con. You can find your opponent's arguments by going to the 1NC assignment, the first negative constructive assignment, the practice one, and you'll see them there in a what you call it, in the peer review. Okay. Now I'm going to pop up just for a second here, just to sort of let you know that your opponent, if they did not submit a recording, I just found one for you. I found one and I put it in there. So you might, if you see two names in there, that means one person didn't submit it and I found somebody who did. And therefore they submitted one on your topic and now you have a speech to go with, okay? If your opponent submits it late, work with that. Just go with it, okay? This is still kind of, we're still in practice mode. We're at the very end of practice mode. This is the last thing that we are doing for practice, okay? These are practice points, meaning that they're lower points. So like, this is just getting you familiar with how to debate, the many ways to debate online. And so this way right now is, we're in the rebuttal stage. And so we're taking the two speeches that you've done, not the cross-examination. The cross-examination is part of the debate, but it's not on this assignment. You're just taking those two speeches, the speech that you did and the speech that your opponent did, and you are putting them into this sheet. And then you're going to generate a rebuttal off of that. It's a speech, the rebuttal speech off of that, okay? And so that's the whole point of this assignment. So what I did was, man, I'm lagging. I hope that it doesn't, the video looks like I'm lagging, but I'm not getting any signals saying that I'm lagging. I'm hoping that this is okay. So your opponent should have submitted a Udemy link, and I don't think I got anything other than Udemy links for your for the submissions. Okay, some of them, there's one or two where the video didn't show up, but the transcript did, and that's just as good. Okay, that's for this assignment. That's all you need. Okay, so all you need is that transcript. So if you go to Udemy, and I don't want to show anybody's assignment here, all right? I have it on a different window that you can't see right now. But go to your Udemy video. Go to your account, open up your library, find your first affirmative from a month ago, right? And if you go to the comments, so you open it up and there's one tab that says analytics and that tells you how many verbal fillers you have, and then there's one that says comments. Now, when you open that up, Udemy says, here are the key points your audience took away. And it gives you a bullet pointed list of the arguments that you made. Now, I think that you can have more detail than that. Okay, but let's just say we're going to use that. So I'm going to take an actual submission that was used. There you go. This is, I'm not going to let you read it necessarily, but you can see like this is an actual generated list of arguments that Udemy bullet pointed from a student's submission. Okay, and this one's on voting by mail. The unfortunate thing is that you have to go through and you have to put each bullet point. You don't want them all in one cell, because the point is that when you're here, like I don't think you can see there, you can kind of see my cursor, right? So you want each row to focus on only one argument at a time. So you could put each bullet point in a separate row. And so what I'm doing is I put them all, rather than going back and forth. You can go back and forth to the window if you want to. I just post, I just get them all. And then what I do is I cut all but one, and then I paste it in the next. And I just repeat that until all the bullet points are used up. So just bear with me as I'm doing this, okay? It's not a lot. It's not, like this is not an incredibly time-consuming assignment. Okay, but hey, if you've come up with a better method, by all means, do a better one. But this one just seemed, and I'm lagging really bad, so it's usually a lot faster than this. It'll probably be a lot faster for you as long as you're not live streaming as you do your assignment. If you are live streaming, invite me. I would love to see that. Okay, here we go. It is thinking. See, it took me 3 seconds after I said paste for it to actually paste it in there. Whew, this is frustrating, but I have nothing but time. All right, here we go. You can fast forward through this and just get to the point where um, all of them are done. But I want to do this. There we go. You're testing me. You are. Oh, I almost skipped one. So for the affirmative, you can just go down cell by cell. Oh, we're at the last one. You can go down cell by cell and uh, and just insert them. Now, I'm looking at this last one. It says overall, it gives like a summary. I don't need an extra summary. I don't need to duplicate the argument. So I'm just going to, pardon me, leave that one off. Okay. Um, there you go. Now, that's okay. I think that you actually could probably do a better job. You could actually take the transcript itself, the whole not just the summary, but the transcript, the whole transcript, and you could do this as well. And you could just put the whole argument in there. I actually like that. I'm kind of doing this for time saving purposes, but doing the whole transcript is also a really, really good idea, and it's what debaters typically do. They take copious notes. Okay, so what we're doing, this is the first speech on your flow sheet. All right, see that? I call it a flow sheet. Now here's all your arguments for the pro. um, and here we go. Let me see, what do we got? Plan involves allows registered voters to send their ballots through mail and provide prepaid postage stamps. What was, oh, that must be, okay, one of my mail things. Um, so if you, I'm going to go full screen again, so you have a better chance of reading this. Okay, let me try to increase it. So nope, I'm on the wrong darn window. My apologies. Here, there you go. Okay, so you can see the individual arguments. Like it's, this is why I'm saying that it might be better for you to just do it off the transcript, because like that's kind of a meaningless summary right there. All right. Regardless, this is a breakdown of the arguments that you made, right? And so it breaks down the plan that you offer, the benefits or convenience, increased participation, provides advantages, election integrity and security. Not bad. Ability to vote by mail is especially helpful for people with disabilities. Nice. Okay. Okay. So, what do you do now? You go to your opponent's arguments and you find their speech and you copy and paste them into the second column. I'm going to kind of write them in. I'm going to do some hypotheticals right now, but I want you to do actual arguments, okay? And I'm doing this kind of for time purposes, so you don't have to sit through as I go and fish out every single one of those arguments and do it in front of you. But let's say you go there, you find the transcript of your opponent's arguments, and one of the arguments is that um, oh, uh, voting by mail is less convenient. Okay, I don't know what argument that they would make. What I don't know what evidence they would use to make that argument. That's not the point. Okay. The point is like let's say they made this argument. Let's say that like voting by mail is less convenient, um, just for people who don't know how to use the mail because we live in an electronic age. Nobody uses the post office anymore. You know, and so like going and walking it down to the postage office, or like sometimes like your polling station is more convenient than going to the post office. Maybe the post office is farther away, even though you could just like leave it for the mail carrier to pick up. Whatever. They let's say that they made an argument of that voting by mail is less convenient. Okay, the point is that I'm trying to make is notice that I'm not putting it at the top. I'm not putting it in the first cell because it's not relevant to what the affirmative said in the first row. You are finding the most relevant row to put the argument that the negative made and putting it right next to the affirmative argument. Okay. So you're trying to line up the argument so that it goes, it reads from left to right. And what you want there to be gaps. You want there to, like, as the affirmative, you want the negative to drop certain arguments. All right. So let's say that, like, they made the argument that voting by mail is less convenient. Um, oh, and so, oh, um, then they made an argument that there is a higher chance of fraud, right? And look, you're putting that right next to the paper trail security and things like that. And let's just say that your opponent only made those two arguments. Now, I want you to copy and paste what they said in there as much as possible. Don't just write a summary like I'm doing right here. I want you to actually copy and paste, like I did for the affirmative, copy and paste it in there. Okay. But you have to go through all of their arguments and do that. And leave blank the arguments that they drop. Okay. That's what we call in debate. Dropping an argument is if they don't respond to an argument. Um, you may go through the entire thing. And you're like, well, they made an argument. I don't know where to put it. It's relevant. Like, let's say, like, voting by mail. So, like, let's say that voting by mail violates privacy. I don't know. I don't think that's a particularly good argument, to be honest with you. But that argument isn't a response to anything on the case directly. It's a response to voting by mail in general. All right. So that's what's known as off case argument. Any argument that they made in their speech, but it doesn't directly respond to your argument, you put it down below next to a blank cell. And I want it below the affirmative. All right. See that? It's like, so the affirmative should take up all the rows, all the cells from top to bottom until they run out. Okay. And then any off case arguments that the negative makes. So this is disadvantages, counterplans, topicality. If they make any of those arguments, you put them in their own cell next to a blank affirmative cell because it is off case arguments. All right. A really common thing that people do is the politics disadvantage. If you don't know what that is, then you have not been watching the video lectures, all right? Because there is pretty good description about what the politics disadvantage is. So a politics DA would go down here. Got it? Because they're making that argument. So any off-case arguments come down here. Got it? Boom, boom, boom. Or for the vote by mail, yeah, vote by mail. There is you could do politics, but there's also, so I've been doing crappy arguments up until now, but the politics DA is not a crappy argument. It's not the best one. I think federalism is a better argument. Okay, what that means is that the voting process, the electoral process is managed on a state level, not a federal level, and states have already been implementing vote by mail systems, and now the federal government telling all states that they have to do it violates, federalism. You have to do better research. You have to explain it better than I'm doing. I'm doing a really short synopsis, right? But it violates the tenets of federalism for our system of government, and so that also leads to like sort of political backlash, disadvantages, but it feeds into all sorts of arguments about like the ability to corrupt election systems once they become more and more centralized. Uh, the uh, the precedent that it sets to like further centralize election systems, which again leads to potentials for corruption and fraud and things like that. Having things decentralized, especially for elections, is absolutely critical, and we should maintain that. So those type of arguments would be down here, and notice that they'd be separate. Okay, so here you go. Let's just say that this isn't a complete, right. These are placeholders. They're not actually copying. I want it to look more like what I did for the affirmative. Okay, where you actually copy and paste that, either the summary, that's fine. You get the summary off of Udemy and put that in there. That's okay. At least for now, that would not be okay in competition. But hey, for this class, I'm cool with it. Okay, you organize it this way. So now you have all of the arguments that the affirmative made and that the negative made on this topic, on your affirmative topic. Like if you did vote by mail for the affirmative, this was a good example. But if you did, felon voting rights or electoral college for your affirmative, the speech you did a month ago, not a speech that you did a few days ago, a speech you did a month ago, that's what you're going for. Okay. And now what you can do is now you can start thinking. This is where you start analyzing. What am I going to do for the 1AR, the rebuttal speech? Real quick note, rebuttals are different than refutation. Okay, people use those two terms interchangeably. Rebuttal and refutation are subtly different when you are at this level in debate education. Okay, refutation is what you're seeing right here about the mail-in voting and election integrity. They're like, nah, that increases fraud. It says this one, mail-in voting will increase election integrity. You're like, no, it won't. It'll increase fraud. That's direct refutation. That fraud argument we don't call rebuttal yet. What we call is like when you say fraud claims are overblown. That's rebuttal, because what you did was you made an argument, they responded to it, and then you come back and you rejoin that argument in your rebuttal. Okay, so like that cycle is what we know as rebuttals. So a rebuttal is more like a rebuilding of your argument in the face of opposition. It's not just naysaying. It's not just opposition. That's refutation. When you refute an argument, you're just responding to what somebody else said. When you are rebutting an argument, you're kind of like you're rebuilding an argument that you made in the face of opposition. It's kind of nuanced. Okay. So here is where your strategy starts coming in. And in this era of TikTok where people just stitch together responses and that's the end of the debate, one person makes a video, one person stitches their response, and boom, they're done. We're going to go beyond that. We're going to do a next level response. Okay. And this is this fraud claims here. And so is a really good example of that. All right. And so what you want to do now, a lot of people focus in on what the negative said. But here's the reason why. The first thing what I skipped was if you fill in every single cell on the negative column in this second column, if every single thing that you said on the affirmative has something as a response, you're probably doing the assignment wrong, because it is very unlikely that your negative opponent responded to every single argument that they made. They probably made arguments, they probably filled up their time, but those arguments belong here, not as direct refutation, but as indirect refutation, as off case. All right. So you want there to be empty cells in the negative column, but they just have to be legitimate, right? So if in this case, if you're putting the fraud responses down below, you're doing that wrong. But if you're putting the federalism arguments as a response to something that you said, that's also wrong. It's not a response to what you said. It's just indirect refutation. You put it down here. Okay. But the point of having empty cells is that let's say, so for instance, the ability to vote by mail is especially helpful with people with disabilities. You now can say that this is a dropped argument in your rebuttal. So this is actually the number one thing you want to go for. This is actually the most important. I got a fly in my face. The most important thing in rebuttals, or the first thing that you should look for in rebuttals, are dropped arguments. So if they did not respond to the disability argument, you now can jump up and down on it and say, that is the most important thing in this round. Disabled people have been overlooked for far too long, and we're not going to let that happen again. All right. And so in this debate, disabled people are going to be given priority when they've been given, second class status for far too long. And so we're going to focus on them first and foremost. We're going to argue that enhancing the ability for people to vote that have disabilities is even more important than anything else in this round, and you should vote there first. See that? Like, if they drop an argument, now you can actually see it. It actually is present on your flow sheet. You can look at it, and there it is. So there's your dropped arguments. Now you can come down and you can have your responses to federalism, right? It's like, so the post, so answering disadvantages is in your lessons now. Watch those damn lessons, okay? So this would be a non-unique post office is a federal office. I don't know. It just is federal. There's one fairly weak argument, right? But you could also make the argument that, like, there's no link, that just because you allow voting by mail doesn't mean that you are forcing states to, handle their elections in any different capacity whatsoever. Especially if, if the plan, like scroll up here, especially if the plan is to for the government to, plan allows registered voters to send their ballots through the mail and provide prepaid postage for the ballots. I don't know if that's being provided by the federal government, then it's like kind of, bypassing any sort of restrictions, and it doesn't require the states to do anything as a response to it. It just allows them to vote. All right. And so, but there's a lot of responses to this federalism disadvantage, and it will help if you look at the answers to disadvantage lesson. Okay. Once you have all of your strategy down, then what you do is you scroll on down and you write out how you would say it. There's no recording for this assignment. You just write a script of what you might say, of what you would say in a rebuttal. Just give me the script. Just write it out. Okay. It's only 400 to 450 words. That's a 3-minute speech. Very short. You're not going to be able to cover everything, so you have to focus on the most important things. You can refute some arguments. So you're like, first off, let me refute this federalism disadvantage. I have 2 responses, and then give 2 responses. And then you're going to say, now let me tell you why you're voting for me. The first reason you're voting for me is the drop disability argument, and then you explain. The second reason you're voting for me is I'm just winning on the election integrity argument, and then you explain how fraud is overblown. All right, there you go. That in and of itself would probably be about 450 words right there. If you explain it thoroughly enough, that would definitely be filling up that time. And that's it. There's your assignment. What you do then is you go to File, you download a PDF. Oh, come on. See? Download that PDF, and that's what you submit. That's how this assignment goes, everybody. All right? Okay. Listen, I didn't have any live viewers, but if you post any comments, I will answer them. Or if you want to just email me directly through Canvas, I will answer that as well. Okay. Don't overthink this too much. Remember, all the arguments already exist. All you're doing is analyzing why you are winning on the affirmative. All right. You did the affirmative, you submitted it, you did cross-X, submitted it, you did the negative constructive, and you just submitted that on Sunday or before. Okay, now you're back to the affirmative. So just like a debate, you're going back and forth, back and forth. We're back on the affirmative for this week, the last week of practice. This is the last thing you're doing for practice before we start debating for reals. Okay, what I mean for reals is real points. The points are going to be more like we're going to do full debates. This is only a partial debate, right? We're not even doing the full rebuttals. We're not even going through the entire thing. We're going to do full debates for more points, and there's going to be less support that I'm giving you because I've given you 12 weeks of instruction and practice. Okay, so make sure you end this practice strong because you will be that much more prepared when the debates happen for reals. Okay. All right, please, please, please contact me with any questions that you may have. All right, everybody, I'll see you.